What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're going to jump in and take a look at all of the exotic catalysts inside of Destiny 2, which haven't dropped inside of Year 1. So of course back in May, Bungie added exotic weapon catalysts to the game. Every single exotic weapon in the game actually has a catalyst, but there are a bunch of them which we haven't obtained yet in Year 1, and it's looking increasingly likely that we'll get them in Year 2 instead. And this will include the Armsweek catalysts, so we'll talk about all of those. We'll talk about what Armsweek is, or what it's supposed to be, and when we're likely to actually see the event. And then I also wanted to break down some of the most efficient farms to upgrade catalysts to get the various kills that you need, and to get them done very quickly in case you have any weapons left over from Year 1 that you want to finish upgrading before Forsaken rolls around, or indeed any new exotic catalysts that you find early on in the Forsaken expansion. So a little bit of a different video right here, but nonetheless, if you guys do find it useful, a rating below is very much appreciated. But now, let's get into the video. So first up, let's talk very briefly about Armsweek. What is the Armsweek event, and where is the Armsweek event? So Armsweek is actually something which was data mined a little while ago, and it's described as the celebration of deadly craftsmanship. We don't know exactly what that will mean for the game when it rolls around, with the exception of the fact that it will bring some new exotic catalysts into the game when we eventually get it. Before we talk about those, I've seen a lot of questions about when Armsweek is actually going to happen, and with us being on the 13th of August right now, Bungie still haven't announced anything about Armsweek, so it's looking like it's probably going to be a Year 2 thing, or indeed it could pop up in a form that we're not expecting because maybe it'll actually be reworked by the time we see it come into the game. There is a small possibility that we could get some of these Armsweek catalysts come up as a surprise, or that Bungie will actually announce it. We also do have the update on the 28th of August, which brings a lot of the Forsaken stuff into the game, but like I said, with it being very close, we have just 3 weeks until Forsaken actually arrives, but we will eventually unlock some pretty cool new exotic catalysts. So we have the Fighting Lion catalyst right here. It will grant the weapon plus 30 points of reload speed, and after the weapon fires, equipped kinetic and power weapons gain a brief period of increased handling and precision damage. So this actually may be a little bit better than it sounds at first. That reload speed bonus is going to be pretty good because of course you have just one round in the weapon, so being able to fire it out and then get that reload much quicker is definitely good. But a lot of situations with Fighting Lion will actually have you switch up to a different weapon after you fire a grenade from the launcher. And so the Chimera perk, offering equipped kinetic and power weapons increased handling and precision damage, is pretty fantastic. Especially for the PvP side, I feel like this is going to be a really good catalyst, but I think it will make the weapon better in general. And according to the upgrade, you will have to defeat enemies and complete the Nightfall Strike the Pyramidion to fully unlock this upgrade. Next though, we have the Soros Regime catalyst. This one is pretty fantastic as well. Of course, this was a beast back in Year 1 of D1, and it hasn't seen as much use inside of Destiny 2, but the catalyst is going to improve the recoil direction on the weapon, so essentially recoil will improve, but it also has Soros Ascendance, increased chance for kills to regen health. Now the health regen on Soros Regime is not the most notable. It's a very random chance to actually get it to proc, but depending on how much this does increase the chance, this actually is going to be a very solid catalyst, especially if we get to a point where you're getting that health regen every second or fourth shot or something like that. It would suddenly be pretty good. According to the database, you'll have to complete the Nightfall Strike Strange Terrain and defeat Guardians in the Crucible to unlock the Soros Regime catalyst when it comes around. There is the Rat King catalyst right here, so it improves the aim assistance and the recoil direction by plus 20 points each. It also comes with the bonus Infestation, improved aim assist and recoil direction, and refreshes health on Vermin invisibility trigger. So when the Vermin bonus actually procs and you go invis after reloading the weapon, it will refresh your health as well, which is definitely a solid improvement when you consider that it is alongside those other two stats. We are about to see a lot of sandbox changes for the game as well, so weapons right now which may be somewhat lackluster on their own could of course be changing quite a bit. So we'll have to see how these different upgrades pair up with those sandbox changes. The Prospector Catalyst is going to grant it deeper pockets though, so it will increase the ammo reserves, you can carry more ammo around, but it's also going to add plus 40 points of blast radius, which is absolutely insane. That is a huge increase to the blast radius right there. It's definitely going to make the weapon more lethal in groups of enemies, or even against single targets. You know, if you miss a shot slightly, it could actually make the weapon quite a bit more interesting to use in PvE content than it is right now, but of course it's only going to improve how effective the weapon is in PvP, and it already can be just a little bit spammy in the Crucible. I should mention that you'll need to complete the Nightfall Savathun Song to get the Rat King upgrade. And for the Prospector, you will need to complete the Arms Dealer Strike during the Armsweek event. Finally though, we have the Hardlight Catalyst, and this will simply grant the weapon an increase of 25 points of stability. Stability definitely is not a bad thing on the Hardlight, although I do think generally this is the least impressive catalyst, unless that stat turns out to be really good. The most annoying thing about Hardlight is certainly the kind of screen shake that you get, which is super over the top. So it's a shame there isn't a bonus to tame that, but of course we'll have to try it out with the bonus stability. You never know, that might just do the trick. But Hardlight will come from completing Savathun Song during the Armsweek event. So like I said, no guarantee as to when we're going to get these, but it certainly looks like they are going to drop in year 2, unless of course Bungie decide to drop a whole bunch of them at some point before Forsaken, maybe after the update on the 28th. We'll have to wait and find out. But in terms of upgrades for exotic catalysts and ways to do them quickly, let's break down a few different options. So when it comes to heavy weapons, generally one of the best locations to do this is going to be inside of the engine room in the underbelly of the Leviathan. I will link a video down below which actually shows you the route to the engine room. It was from another guide. But when you're in the engine room, you get a whole bunch of enemies spawn that drop heavy ammo, which is certainly very useful, especially for things like Legend of Acreus, things which are pretty easy to use. It's going to be really effective. You basically head in there, take down a couple of watchers, kill all the enemies, clear the watchers out, head back out of the room, and start again. With Legend of Acreus, it took me just over 20 minutes to actually get it completely upgraded, but you could use Sleeper Simulant in here, pretty much any other heavy weapon, and this is going to be a fantastic place to actually get the kills for the upgrade. In terms of other options which are permanently there, one farm which is really good is going to be the North Mars Lost Sector. What you can actually do is use a combination of Escalation Protocol and the Lost Sector on the north part of the Mars map to get a bunch of general kills. This will be really good for Graviton Lance, be pretty good for things like the Risk Runner as well, because you do have Thrall, so you can proc that Arc Conductor. Really, any weapon where you need general kills, and a lot of them, this is going to be a really good spot because you get a ton of enemies in the Lost Sector, ton of enemies outside with the escalation, and you can just kind of do a loop, you know, head outside, clear a few Thrall from the waves of Escalation Protocol, head through, complete the Lost Sector, head back outside, and head to Escalation or the Lost Sector again. It's kind of under the radar, this one, to be honest, because there are just so many ads to kill, and it's a bit less boring than being locked in a room or something like that. Two other general kill farms, which are pretty good, would include the Hephaestus Adventure, I believe that's how you say that. And basically, to get a bunch of enemies that you can kill in here, you're going to want to clear out the adventure all the way to the final room where you're in the server room at Rasputin. And when you have to scan the final computer, a whole ton of enemies are going to pour out. Anytime enemies are near the computer, it will actually stop the scan progress. So if you just kind of stand close to it and let the thralls get near it, it'll stop the progress on the scan, and you can go ahead and just make as many kills as you like. And if progress on the scan actually gets high up towards 80% or whatever, you can wipe, and then it will actually spawn you at this final section of the adventure, and you can just carry on and get more kills. Very efficient for general kills. Once again, things like the Risk Runner, Prometheus Lens, might be using the Sturm, Graviton Lance. It's all gonna work pretty well in here. Another mention for generic kills would be the Whisper mission. You do have this section right here, which folks call the Green Room, where you get a ton of endless kind of spawn in thrall on this bottom floor. This is definitely a pretty effective place to farm stuff out because you do just get endless enemies, but of course you are on a timer, so it may take you a couple of minutes to actually get there, and then you have the remainder of that Whisper run to make kills. I'm not necessarily convinced it is as good as the Mars farm, but it's definitely one to think about, and it's actually especially good for a lot of the Year 1 Faction Rally upgrades. That would include the Graviton Lance, the Sunshot, and the Sweet Business. Another one to mention, finally, would be the Castellum inside of the Leviathan raid. So if you just head all the way up to the top, you can just kill the Cabal that continuously spawn here. Very good for Cabal kills, obviously, so especially if you're upgrading Skyburner's Oath, but it's even good for heavy kills as well. You do get a lot of ads in here which will drop heavy. You can get a bit more distance and range, so it can be more useful for upgrades like the Darcy. So the Castellum inside of normal Leviathan is definitely one to think about as well. And the good thing with all of these is that they work right now, of course, but as far as we know, every single one of these will still be available inside of year 2 with the Forsaken DLC, so if you have a new weapon when Forsaken drops, you're more than likely going to be able to upgrade it here unless it requires something very specific like kills on the Scorn, for example, or kills in the Tangled Shore. So definitely bear these in mind. But that is going to summarize the video for now, guys. I just wanted to break down the catalysts which remain from year 1 and all of the best kind of farms that I know of for upgrading catalysts right now in the game. So I hope it has been useful. If it has, a like below is very much appreciated. Let us know any tips you have for upgrading particular catalysts. But if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see a lot more Destiny 2 and Forsaken content right here. For now though, I very much appreciate you guys tuning in, and whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.